So here we have the black leftist feminist, Zerlina Maxwell. I know that's redundant, but it is what it is. So the conversation is talking about a female protecting herself in a situation of rape. There was a senator, a Democrat female, who was at a town hall meeting type of a situation or whatever, and a female who was raped, who is a concealed carry permit person. She was leaving her university and she was raped in a parking lot. She didn't have her gun on her because the school changed the policy and she left her gun at home. She couldn't even have it in the parking lot, which is kind of odd that she couldn't even have it in her car, which is in the parking lot. But during the last few weeks, you've heard colleges say things like women should piss on herself or vomit or whistle, things of that nature. They were saying that women should do these things to protect themselves. The argument here was simply this woman believes that if she had her gun, she would have most likely been able to defend herself against the person who raped her. And uh, I thought, like, where were all the feminists at this past month? Listen to all these people say things like a woman should just throw up on herself or piss on herself. You know, isn't that silly? Now, Zerlina actually did say the have a pen thing is stupid, but again, most feminists are, gun control is part of the leftist ideology, and you're not going to really see any leftist feminists stray from that ideology. They're going to go hand in foot, even if they disagree with it. Probably they're not going to speak out against it. But you would think that the feminists would come out and say something, right? But this black feminist, Zerlina, she changes the whole argument around and has a stupid logic on how to prevent rape or how the woman should protect herself in a scenario. But this is the funny thing too that Congresswoman said to this woman. Statistics are wrong. If you would have had a gun, you probably would have still been raped. She's bigger than you. This defeatist mentality is it's terrible. Even if that were 100% true, I still would rather have my own gun, or I would rather have one than not have one. I would rather have one and then think, well, maybe this could have happened, than not have one at all. It's the same logic that leftists use in the gun control debate when you say that the government is from. It's the Second Amendment is to protect people from tyranny, and liberals will say, well, the government has more guns and more bombs than you, and they're bigger and stronger. But it's like they have this defeatist mentality where it's like, they don't understand the concept that it's a guerrilla warfare. Uh, it's tactics in it. You don't just go head on and straight on at a bigger, more powerful enemy than you. But they'll say stupid stuff like that. They act as if no bigger government has ever been beaten by a smaller, smarter, in small segments, been overthrown or beaten. They have this mentality as well. Well, since we're bigger and stronger than you, don't even try. Just sit there and just take it like a man. Just get beat up, just die. That's their mentality, And they would. And the problem I have is, I don't have an issue with you having that mentality. You can be about that life, but when you try to make laws and rules that affect me as well, therein lies the problem. If you don't want to defend yourself, if you want to just take it and just die and lay down your life, that's cool with me. You do that. I would not infringe upon your right to do so. But when you try to flip it and say stupid things like, well, you should just take it, I can't bang with that. But anyways, let's listen to Zerlina with her silly argument of how to prevent rape is just by telling men to not rape.
As a woman is that a firearm is the one equalizing factor when met against an opponent much larger than me. The question of my life is and will remain to be, what would have been different if I had been able to carry my firearm that night?
Thank you for sharing your story. Very, very unsettling story. I just want to say that actually statistics are not on your side, even if you had had a gun. You said that you were a martial arts student and yet, person experienced in Taekwondo, and yet because this individual was so large was able to overcome you, even with your skills. And chances are that if you had had a gun, then he would have been able to get that from you and possibly use it against you. I mean, the Colorado Coalition Against Gun Violence says that for every one woman who used a handgun to kill someone in self-defense, 83 were murdered by them.
And that statistic has been debunked, by the way. Joining me now with reaction, Democratic strategist Zerlina Maxwell, senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, Gail Trotter. This really angers me. She wasn't there. She doesn't know what this young girl went through. This young girl is saying, if I had my gun, which I've been trained to use, I could have defended myself. She doesn't know any better. What's wrong with these people in Colorado?
Well, her comments are insulting and absurd because she's trying to take away someone else's personal choice. The Second Amendment, the statistics show that the Second Amendment affects women mostly because it has a disproportionate impact.
But you know what? This is not the first time, Zerlina, and we were talking about it beforehand, about what women have been recommended that they use whistles and pens, that they fake faint, urinate, puke on people, the most idiotic things that have been said by these arrogant, ignorant politicians.
The entire conversation is wrong. I don't want anybody to be telling women anything. I don't want men to be telling me what to wear, how to act, not to drink. And I don't honestly want you to tell me that I needed a gun in order to prevent my rape. And in my case, don't tell me if I had only had a gun I wouldn't have been raped, because I'm still putting it on me to prevent
You have written
rape.
about this.
I have, yes.
That this happened to you.
Yes. And I was attacked by someone I knew. So you're required, what you're saying works out in reality, not in a theoretical scenario. You're requiring that I shoot someone that I know.
No, I'm
that is not the reality. Two-thirds of women are attacked by someone they know.
Nobody is requiring that you do it. I have carried a weapon my entire adult life, and I've had license to carry in the five recent states that I've lived in. And I am trained, I'm a marksman in the use of a pistol. I have been since I'm 11 years old. I've been a good shot. Only if women choose to. They ought to have the right. That ought to be their choice. And if you choose not to, I fully respect that. I would urge you to bring every woman to have some way to defend themselves.
And every year there are 2.5 million defensive uses of guns.
Right.
Every year. And the people who have done these studies, Gary Kleck, he's a lifelong Democrat. He's a member of the ACLU. So this is a legitimate study that shows that people use guns to defend themselves.
There's a big problem with leftist ideology when it comes to just common sense. Like, they really believe that we live in some type of utopia or that people are good. A lot of times liberals, feminists, and atheists even believe that everything in this world is a social construct, and people are programmed to do certain things, and they ignore biology, they ignore nature all the time, and they ignore the fact that people are fallible and they're flawed, and some people choose to not avoid their negative or their sin nature. They choose to go with it. And she believes that if you just tell people nicely and train them the proper way, don't do this, they won't do it. So this is your Drugs on Brain campaign that worked great, right? Kids are not doing drugs anymore because of those campaigns and teaching and raising these children up to avoid drugs, right? That works. The whole use a condom campaign that liberals promoted, use these condoms, have all the sex you want. Did that stop the STD rate from spreading? Has that stopped the abortion rates from going up? Has that stopped the teen pregnancy rates? Teaching them to do those things or to not do them, does that stop people from being weak and not listening to the moral barometer? Does that work? Her logic is simply, don't tell women to protect themselves, to be smart, to be wise. There was another scenario when Jenna Marbles did her video where she was basically telling females, you probably shouldn't be going out pissy drunk with a bunch of strangers and not being able to control yourself, and because there's a possibility that someone's going to sit there and watch you and they understand. Even if it wasn't a rape, it's still alcohol. It alters the mind, right? It makes a woman. It makes women are weaker, and it influences them more. It makes them behave differently. Just that alone is common sense on why you might do something. It might not even be rape, but it might not something you would have normally did had you not had the alcohol in your system. She simply said that, chicks need to chill out with doing that, right? And of course, the feminist, a black one as well, did the sob story, used her personal experience as a way to hold hostage the argument of telling females, no, you're not responsible for anybody attacking you. You're not responsible for someone trying to rape you. But there's a reality. There are people out there going to do that, and you need to do everything you can do to protect yourself. And you need to put that responsibility in your own hands. And the same female in that video said, well, if a guy sees a girl out there drunk and she can't control herself, that guy should be obligated. It's like, no, that's personal responsibility. That's a good gesture. That's a nice thing. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have it where you say you don't want men telling you or giving you advice on maybe you shouldn't do that because it's dangerous and there are people who will take advantage of you. And then you say, no, ignore that. And you hard-headed and you don't listen. And then you get in that situation where you're going that route and there's something bad. Now you want him to come up and stand up and protect you or look out for you. Now you want his help. But when men tell you these things, don't be going out there getting drunk with a bunch of people you don't even know. That's dangerous. I'm a dude, and I've never drank, never had any desire to, never have, never will, right? But growing up, my grandmother who raised me always said, don't ever put your drink down when you go out. Don't ever take a drink from somebody that you don't know. To this day, and I've never had that issue, but I'm a dude, and she always told me that as a boy, and it stuck with me. Now, I'm a dude, and I know better to not do that. Yet, you have females who ignore that. That's terrible. People live in a delusional world. Pink Elephant did a video similar to the same logic of when Trayvon Martin was going through the hood at night with a hood on his head in the dark in a predominantly not black neighborhood. And, of course, as a black man, we know if we wear certain things, we're going to be targeted. If we drive certain vehicles, we're going to be targeted. The logic shouldn't be, of course we know it shouldn't happen, but that's not a delusional world we don't live in. We know that it will happen. I mean, for example, by this logic of these leftists, you should be able to walk downtown in any major city, park your car in the downtown area, go into a federal building, pay your bills, do whatever you gotta do, go to court, but put your little money in the machine, leave your wallet and your keys in the car. By this logic, no one should take your car. It should just stay there, and no one should touch it. You should be able to live in the inner city in any hood and put your flat screen TV in the window and open your window blinds and let everybody know you got a 72-inch TV sitting right there, and leave the house. Don't even lock your door. Leave it wide open. That's the same. That's the logic that I'm getting is because we should be able to do certain things, which we should be able to do those things. But the question isn't should we or should we not be able to do it. Is it logical or is it rational to do those things? Does it make sense to be on a street at 3 o'clock in the morning by yourself, drunk as hell? Does that make sense for you to do that? It doesn't. The reality is something might happen. Most likely it will happen depending on the neighborhood you're in. People, some are vile and wicked and evil, and if they have an opportunity, they're going to take advantage of you. Your best bet is to protect yourself or to exclude yourself from that situation. Again, as a dude, I know by my size and stature, I can't go to certain neighborhoods because people will feel threatened by me. And I'm talking about in the hood. They'll think I'm doing something I'm not, or they think I'm in their territory, things of that nature. I know I can't go to certain parts of town. Should I be able to in a perfect world? That would make sense, but that's not the case. I know there's certain places I should not be, and I cannot go at certain times. I know there are going to be negative consequences being there, but that's not the same logic that these feminists use or liberals use. They believe in this utopia world where everything is kumbaya, and we just got to tell people to be nice and don't hurt nobody, and nothing bad will happen. That's delusional. I mean, if you keep doing that and you keep thinking that way, stuff is going to keep happening to you. It's just that reality.
use guns to defend themselves.
And this is what they're denying women. They're telling them to use a ballpoint pen. A ballpoint pen?
That's
Seriously?
ridiculous as well, but I don't think that we should be telling women anything. I think we should be telling men not to rape women and start the conversation there.
Well, criminals
with
are not going to listen to that.
No,
so
but
I
we're not
agree
talking
with
about,
you.
We're not, I mean, yes, men are committing a crime, but many of the men that
criminals are
commit
not gonna
rape are
listen
people
to
that
Sean
you know.
Hannity.
But you're
No
talking
man should
about,
do that to
you're
anybody.
talking about it as if there's some faceless, nameless criminal, when a lot of times it's someone that you know and trust.
Well, I'm saying that women need to know that these situations arise, and we've got to, evil exists in the world.
Yes, but
Evil
we
exists.
can prevent rape by telling men not to commit it.
They're
No,
not
that's
going
not
to.
right. That is
Criminals
not
will
right.
not
No.
listen.
No, we're not talking
So
about
I want
criminals.
women.
We're talking about a
I want
cultural-
women to be able to protect themselves. Don't you?
I want women to be able to protect themselves, yes, but I want women to not be in this situation. And by,
I agree
but they're
with you.
telling
be in that
no, that's not
situation.
true. If you train men not to grow up to become rapists, you prevent
you
rape.
think you can
That is
stop?
the
You
core
think
of the
you think you
problem.
can tell a rapist to stop doing what he's doing?
Yes.
You really? And he's
You
going to
can-
listen to
yes,
an
because
ad campaign
There are
to stop?
organizations that do this. Men can stop rape. Men stopping violence. They train young men to not rape.
And you think
Over
you can stop every rapist?
90% of violent crime in the U.S. occurs without a firearm. And when you look at these studies that say women are more likely to be raped than to be able to defend themselves.
If firearms were the answer, then the military would be the
I've gotta
safest
go.
place for women, and it's not.
But knowing that there are evil people, I want women protected, and they've got to protect themselves. But thank you both.
Tell
I'm
men
sorry
not to
that
rape.
happened. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Coming up next, it is the gun.
Again, logic. I'm not finding it, not hearing it. You know, basically just tell men no, don't rape, and it won't happen. Completely ignore reality in life and understand that there are people who are going to do this regardless. And for some reason, apparently, only men can be rapists. You know, women can't rape. But that's not even a part of the discussion. But apparently, only men are rapists. So just tell them don't do it, and train them to not do it, and it won't happen. And to me, it's weird. It's like she has Stockholm syndrome with her attacker, because she says that, you know, you knew him and he's not some faceless criminal. I'm like, well, if he raped you, that makes him a criminal, and him being faceless is irrelevant. You know, if he attacks you, shouldn't you want to defend yourself and kill him or get him off you or stop him? I don't understand this logic of, well, because I know him, I can't defend myself against him. I can't use a weapon or protection. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. If someone's about to attack you or do something to cause you harm, regardless of who it is, common sense would say, yo, it's go time. I don't get that. This notion of, well, I knew who he is, he knew who I was, I trusted that person. But the rape would make you not want to trust him anymore. The fact that this person, after you said no and stop, has continued to come after you, that would kind of end all that I know you stuff, you would think. But this is feminist logic. I don't get it. I think women, you should use common sense, protect yourself, understand there's certain places you can't go, there's certain things because you're a woman you cannot do, and be rational about that. If I had a daughter, if I were married, I would teach my wife and my child the same exact things. Common sense. I wouldn't waste my time. Well, no, we know this shouldn't happen, but if you just tell those guys not to do it and train them, it's not going to happen. No, we're going to deal with reality. I would teach my daughter to defend herself, to protect herself. It's just common sense to me. I don't get this feminist.
As well, but I don't think that we should be telling women anything. I think we should be telling men not to rape women and start the conversation there.
Well, criminals
with
are not
prevention.
going to listen to that.
No, but
so I agree with you.
We're not. I mean, yes, men are committing a crime, but many of the men that
criminals are
commit
not
rape
gonna
are
listen
people
to
that
Sean
you know.
Hannity.
You're
No
talking
man should
about,
do that to
you're
anybody.
talking about it as if there's some faceless, nameless criminal, when a lot of times it's someone that you know and trust.
Well, I'm saying that women need to know that these situations arise, and we've got to, evil exists in the world.
Yes, but
Evil
we can
exists.
prevent rape by telling men not to commit it.